One of the ironic parts about it is that I've never lobbied anyone. You know, Washington, D.C. is a city filled with influencers and lobbyists. I don't lobby people. I don't ask laws to be changed. But the truth is so powerful that it forces these things to happen without me lobbying people. I think that's the really incredible part of the book, is that the state of New Hampshire overwhelmingly passed a voter ID law. In the Governor Lynch at the time vetoed that law, and the people said, "Nuh-uh, this video is so damning, we are going to actually overwhelmingly pass this law overriding your veto." And I didn't even know anybody in New Hampshire. I just put this stuff on YouTube and answered some questions in the Concord Monitor about it. And that shows you how powerful the truth is. That shows you how powerful reality is. I mean, it should not be a radical notion, but journalism works when it's tried.
Nice. One last question. I know you can't really speak to this specifically because the nature of your work is undercover.
Sure.
But just sort of what's next for you in a general sense?
Well, I'll give one specific thing and then a general. Specifically, this is not the biggest thing. We're doing 5 things, but this whole discussion about what it means to be a journalist has really taken traction recently. There's a New York Times piece by David Carr, and he was trying to define journalist. It almost seems like the cartel, so to speak, is disintegrating. And they're trying to define what it means to be a journalist. So I went to journalism schools Monday with a camera crew out in the open, no undercover, and I asked to interview people. I said, you know, I'd like to speak with some of the professors here about what it means to be a journalist. Went to Columbia Journalism School. I can't make this up. They actually called security on me. They called the law enforcement there at Columbia to have me escorted out of the building. Now, I had a camera. I asked permission. I got permission from the individual I spoke with. This is all on tape. We went to the Star-Ledger of New Jersey, the Bergen Record. These are the newspapers. Largest paper is where I'm from in New Jersey. And I asked them, you know, what does it mean to be a journalist? You know, we release the full raw transcripts. Will you release the full raw transcripts? They escorted me out. They called their lawyers. I mean, I can't make this up. I mean, unfortunately, we, Veritas, Project Veritas, they consider me an enemy. And I'm reaching out an olive branch and I'm saying, I am not your enemy. I am not your enemy. We have the same mission, don't we? If we don't have the same mission, then it's incumbent upon you, media, to tell me what your mission is. Now it's up to you. So more generally, we want to scale what we do. We want to do it frequently. We want to break multiple stories a month. And I genuinely do believe that people will follow in our footsteps. I will not be the only one doing this. There'll be plenty of people doing it as time goes on. And that's why I wrote this book, because I want them not to get caught in the same dilemmas I got and take shortcuts and be effective.
Awesome. If I may, one quick
Yeah.
follow-up. Because you talked about releasing unedited video. If
Yeah.
you could just briefly speak to the difference between the way you go about your business and, say, a Michael Moore does.
Yeah, that's also that's mentioned in the book, the process of editing. You know, if you Google me, one of the things you'll see immediately is just I'm a liar who's edited everything out of context and everything's fake, and I should never be trusted. Where do I begin? We always release the full raw tapes for all of our interviews, which is a policy that no journalist lives up to. 60 Minutes didn't do it. Diane Sawyer at ABC Primetime didn't do it. In fact, no Pulitzer Prize winner releases their source material. I would argue if they did release their source material, you might see something different. You might see certain context that you didn't see in the edited version. The practice of writing, if you're writing an article and you're making assumptions, you're using language that may or may not reflect truthfully what is happening. But we use cinema, we use video. And video, it's 1,000 words per second. I can't describe what they're saying. I show you what they're saying. So in the case of an Acorn employee who sued me and I had to give him $100,000 for an invasion of privacy claim. Oh, James, you're a liar. You settled with this guy. Well, first of all, that was an expectation of privacy issue. He argued that I violated his privacy rights. I don't think I did. We were talking about an underage prostitution scheme in a public place, in his office. But more importantly, people said, oh, he was just playing along with you. I say, okay, if that's what you believe, take a look at the videotape. They don't want the videotape shown. They want me shut down. They want the tape destroyed. I said, well, how can you support the First Amendment? You talk about editing tape, but yet you don't want me to show you what the Acorn employee was doing. If you're so much about tapes and their full raw tapes, why don't you watch the full raw tape? You can see the Acorn employee literally hit on Hannah Giles, ask her how much money it costs to use her services, and then give me specific advice on how to get the girls across the Tijuana border. Now, is that playing along? It doesn't look like he's playing along, but I'll let you be the judge. But they don't trust you. They don't trust the viewer to make their own judgments. This is what the journalists say, I'm going to write an article about this video. Well, you're going to write an article about the video? Why don't you show them the video? It's so frustrating because they don't like freedom. They don't like freedom of the press. They don't want information. They want less information. And it's on this very specific point is the why I fight. That's why I wrote this book. I said, let's at least agree that we shouldn't put journalists in jail. Let's at least agree upon it. Do we not agree that we shouldn't put journalists in jail? That's why I fight.
Speaking of which, the federal government actually destroyed some of your unedited video. Did you ever get a satisfactory explanation as to that?
No, what happened was I was in federal court in New Orleans, and the magistrate judge actually ordered the tape deleted. And I was sitting there shocked. I looked around the courtroom, and I saw ABC Good Morning America, Fox News Eric Shawn. I saw a couple other reporters from Patrick Szymanski, I think, was there from the Associated Press. And I thought, well, at least we have reporters in the courtroom who will put this into their articles, and it will be obvious to every American that they destroyed the evidence. They didn't report on it. They didn't report that they destroyed my evidence. And I got the cartridges back from my camera, and the tapes were gone. Now, if I could show you what I was actually doing in that federal building, asking questions, you would obviously know that I wasn't there to commit any crime. And there's nothing, I mean, I just can't, it's not so much that the judge destroyed the tape that got me. It's what happened afterwards. It's the media not caring. And that's really the barrier to entry.
Well, they cared, but perhaps not in a way that was, they cared in their role as anti-journalists.
They selectively edited that part out. If I selectively edited, if I destroyed a tape and then made a claim, I would never be able to do what I do ever again. I would lose all credibility instantly. And think about the tragic irony for a second. They destroy my tapes and say that I did something and everyone believes it. I release full tapes and nobody believes it. It's so twisted. But the good news is, the hopeful part, is that we do get results. People do resign. And Juan Carlos Vera actually told ABC News, this is the Acorn employee that we settled with, he said, you know what, I was trying to help them with their brothel to get a better life. So I suppose he was a well-intentioned pimp helper. He wanted to help us get a better life. Okay, at least he's honest. But they edit that part out.
Breakthrough, the new book by James O'Keefe, out June 18th. Pre-order it today at breakthroughthemedia.com.